Hello, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well. I'm going to wait for people to come on to see if anyone wants to come on with me that they can read my chat to me while I am at my sewing machine because I can't read my chat when I'm at the sewing machine. But yeah, um, today I'm going to be sewing. I'm still sitting at the computer area, so I'm going to pull out some stuff that I'm going to be working on first. And actually, I think I'm going to leave debating if I want to if I want to glue these together first. I think I'm going to glue. I think I am. So I'm going to take that back. I am going to be moving my camera. So I'm going to turn the camera off for a moment. And I'm going to relocate the camera. This is where having two cameras would come in handy. Because what I will do is I will glue these pieces together first. And then I will relocate to the sewing machine. Let me check where my camera is. Stretch my glass back a little bit. Trying to get my camera somewhat straightened up because I'm really weird when it's all crooked. So I'm going to start that back and see how that looks. I'm going to throw my banner up because I keep forgetting to do that. And what I'm going to be working on now is construction. These I'm going to sew these, then glue them together. That way the seam is on the inside. One of these, we go to this insides together. I'm going to stack them up and then I'll move them to the side and pull them off the stack one at a time. And then the brim part, I'm going to actually sew these back seams together and then put them together. That way the seam for this is on the inside. Did that one upside down. Did that. I laid these down wrong because I'm supposed to be laying these fuzzy side up, fuzzy side down. I do that one inside, inside. And then do that one inside and inside. Now I have my stack. I will lay it on the chair behind me. I'm going to mix me up some watered down glue. Hi, Sue. You have, yes, I do. I absolutely have an extra one. I was making some up. I made a couple of them up yesterday. Monica wanted one. She hasn't paid for it yet, so I went ahead and made that. But I'd also made up a second one that has no name on it yet. So I will put a clip on that to remind me that that's Rosie's. Let me see. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a moment of time. Take a sheet of paper. Find an ink pen that I know I just had my purple ink pen. There it is. Letter. Rosie. Let's put these on here. And then I can take the two that are flutters and put a clippy on them. I need to take all of these up tonight. This one is my commission. They get all 3 pieces. I have Elisa and Kendra. Hi, Britta. I have not checked yet. If you give me a minute, I will. Oh. Which one do you think she'll like better? I've got that one. And then I have this one. You got one for yourself, didn't you, Sue? You got one for yourself last night. Okay. So now that makes sense. Because I was looking at this one going, wow, that one has a lot of green to it. I put a lot of green on it because it's for you. I did that intentionally. Is I put green. Where's my camera? I put green on this side and on this side to give you green because you like green. Flag that one. Today was really busy at work, so I did not get my stuff shipped out that I wanted to. And then give some Rosie some bling. Okay, so the only thing I have left is I have one that I've already made up is one butterfly and one regular keychain that I played with last night and did this one. So that's what I have left of the stuff that's already been made up. And I have a little bit of leather left, so. So I need to get some water. This is the glue that I use, but I'm watering it down to make it a little bit thinner because last time I used it with its full thickness, it made the leather really stiff. And where is I had a chopstick over here. But it's lost. My chopstick is lost in the pits of who knows where. If you see a cord all of a sudden plop down, I do apologize for that. I moved my setup to have it ready for working on the sewing machine. So my cord is not where it's supposed to be. I'll use this one. This is my good pointy one. It really will stick you. This one lost its point. It got broken. Oh, I have a paddle. I have a little paddle thing too. Hold on. That's not it. Okay, I'll check in a little bit, Sue. I trust you. I'm not worried. Those are. Oh. Any other time I reach over here, I put my hand right in what I'm looking for. I buy these disposable makeup applicator things for, like, if you have a makeup party, like if you're selling Mary Kay, you would use this to scoop lotion out of a big container and put it on a little tray for different people to try it, or scented creams or whatever. And so I buy these things to use in my crafting, so I don't have to do a lot of cleanup when I'm done. I can just throw them away. I'm going to use this scrap of paper. I think this will be more efficient for mixing. Sometimes this is like going back to kindergarten class. And actually, I think I can check my notifications from the computer. And pull up this. I have this lovely app that I use for everything. It says I received money from Sue today. And everybody put your good thoughts and healing energies out for Marcia. She is sick again. She's not feeling well. And we need her to get back to good health. Yeah, I think that'll make it better. Except I keep splattering it on myself. Trying to get the lumps out. Oh, yay me. Yep, much thinner consistency. It's like, Tori, what did you do today? I played kindergartner and glued stuff. Oh man, when I was in kindergarten, we had a paste. It wasn't a liquid glue, it was a thick paste. And it smelled like mint. And we had a kid that would eat a whole jar of it every day. His mother was having to send a new jar every day for that child because he would just eat it. It was this real thick paste, and you would open it, and it would have the lid would have a stick in it that was like one of these that you would use to spread it. But it smelled so good. And don't think I didn't lick it once to see if it tasted good. It did not. It smelled better than it tastes. Because when I go online, I notify Marcia to let her know because she's not getting notifications. And all she did was came back with, sorry, not today, running fever. And I know that yesterday she said she was sick as a dog, feeling horrible. So she needs to take care of herself. Let me tell her to take care of herself. Take care of you. Telling her we're sending her healing energies. Oh, you didn't have anyone eating paste? Yeah, we had a guy ate a whole container of it every day. His mother couldn't understand why the teacher kept sending home notes, and the teacher finally, he's like, your son is eating the paste every day. And the mother got upset, and she's like, well, I feed him. It's not like he's hungry. And the teacher told her, no, he says it tastes good. It smells like mint, and he likes the taste of it. No one ever drank the Elmer's glue, though. The only thing we would do with the Elmer's glue is we would put it on our hands and let it dry and then peel it off. Now let me see if I can find a paintbrush really close by. And I don't know if you can hear me, but I do mean really close by. Well, that's a big paintbrush. Found one, but it's a very large paintbrush. But it is a clean one. A clean paintbrush is what it matters, right? Needs to be clean. Hi, Tammy. Oh, wow, I just found a bunch of beads. Cool. Now, let me see. Scooch my chair back where it belongs. My chair wheels don't work that well. I need another chair. I'm just not ready to give up this chair because it was the chair my mother used in her craft room. And so I'm kind of partial to it. And I am going to find me a couple of scraps to do some testing with. See, I keep all these crazy scraps for a reason. Okay, let me see. Tammy is background editing a video. So it's not a very comfortable chair anymore because it is so old. I actually need to replace it. And I'm waiting. I'm trying to procrastinating until I rearrange everything in here. Because if things go the way I want, I'm going to be raising this table up taller, which means that I'll be using a much taller chair. See if this works. I need to check my consistency to see if I need to add more glue to it. See if I watered it down too much. Glue on that side. And yes, I know I am using a very large paintbrush for this. It's one I knew that was clean because it's not been used before. One of my grandchildren does art. Oliver does artwork, and so they have a tendency to steal my good paintbrushes. So I need to get me some more. Looks good. Now I'm going to stick it under my table for a second because I have a heater under there. And if my heater's still on, that means I left my heater on last night by mistake. I try not to leave the heater on down here when I'm not down here. But it is a safety heater that if it gets knocked over or overheated, it turns itself off. Yeah, and I don't know what I'm going to do with this chair because I'm not ready to part with it, if that makes sense. And I know some people would think it's kind of silly for me to be that way about it, but it's, yeah. I have a lot of guilt associated with my mom because I moved, because of my job. I moved to have a better life. So I physically wasn't close to my mom, even though I was close to my mom. I physically wasn't near her. And when she was having her last surgery, I said something about going down there to see her. And she told me no, that surgery was nothing. No big deal. You don't need to come down here. The surgery's nothing. And she never woke up from the surgery. And so it's like I'm constantly kicking myself in the butt that I didn't go down there for that last surgery. I could not have changed anything. Nothing would have changed. I could not have made it any different than what it was. So, I do know that reality. But she didn't want me to come down for it, so I didn't. And then the next call I got was my sister saying there was a problem because mom wouldn't wake up. And they were still trying to get her to wake up, and she just wasn't waking up. And she never did wake up. And she thought it was no big deal. My sister did not want her having the surgery anyway. And mom chose to do that anyway. So, oh yeah, I like this feel better. Let it cool off. Where are all my scissors? Here they are. I hit them. Cut off some of this extra floppy stuff. Yeah. So I'm kind of like I'm not a sentimental person anyway. That's like when I went to the house after she passed and we were splitting up some stuff. Mom did not write a will. She says, you and your sister will figure it out. It was forced upon us to figure it out. And we had to work it out. And for the most part, we did. And when it came to the china cabinet, I kind of looked at the china cabinet and my sister's like, I'll make this easy. You can take the china cabinet and everything in it. And I knew that the wedding dishes that were given, the dishes that were given to my mother and father the day they were married, I knew those were in that cabinet. And that's what I really wanted. That and the plates that came from, the Blue Willow plates that came from occupied Japan. For me, that's the only thing in that cabinet that had value. And so I was like, okay. The only thing she took out of there was some blue colored like wine glasses that she had bought for mom. But I had a set similar to it already and a set of green ones. I already had them. I did not need them. And so I gave those up easily. But I have mom's wedding dishes. And that makes me happy. And I have mom's crystal that she got when she got married. It's just missing a few pieces. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. And this chair was one of those things because I'm the one that sews. And this was mom's sewing and crafting chair. It was the one she kept in her sewing and crafting area. So it just made sense. The one who sews gets that. That and my sister is quite a bit heavier than me. And so is her daughter. And I don't think either one of them could have sat in this chair without breaking it. It scares me to sit in it sometimes. There. And if any of this glue gets on the outside finished edge, I can get it off because it is a water-based glue. I'm using it. It will hold the pieces together, so I don't have to worry about it when I sew. And because they will be stitched on all the edges, the glue that's holding the layers together will actually hold as well, which again will act like a stiffening agent and make it where the hat will stand up better and not be all floppy. Oh, you have some blue willow as well. Sweet. Where is your blue willow from? I have one piece, I think, that's from England that I was actually buying some to supplement what I had to kind of fill in a few pieces, and which is silly because I won't use it. And so It's kind of ridiculous to get something that I'm not going to ever use. That did not work well. Try that again. That works better. I didn't realize how many places made Blue Willow until I started investigating it. I still have the note where Mom investigated what was the story behind the picture, the image, and she handwrote what the meaning was, what that story was. And I still have her handwritten note. She wrote it and stuck it underneath the plates, and that's where it is today. The youngest grandchild wants those plates. The oldest one doesn't want any of it. He's not interested. Topher's not interested in any dishes except one, which is a plate that has purple ivy on it. Oh no, found a mark. I need to check this table. I think that's going to be inside the seam. But that's not the point. The point is I was trying to do this without getting marks on anything. And move some stuff that I'm not utilizing at this moment. Don't need hammers. I put stuff on the table, take stuff off the table, put stuff on the table, take stuff off the table as I'm using it or not using it. I'm going to get supper. I just found out my tax check's going to be in soon. Tax money. I am thankful that I'm not paying them money. Clean up this space a little more. And I will show you what I do to create a clean environment. Because sometimes you work with different colors and you can't help it. It's going to get on your table, and I can't have a table for each color project. But what I can do is create a clean space to work with. And I do this, and then I tear it up and I start over. But this will ensure that while I'm working, there's nothing underneath my white leather to get any colors on it. And I use this tape because it's too dark for me to see through, so I can't use it on my patterns. One more, and that'll be enough space for all my pattern pieces to fit without me worrying about them getting dirty. I did this the other night, and that way I have a clean environment to work with. The blue I'm not as worried about because the blue is is the inside. It's not visible like the white is. And I am going to wind up having to make more glue up. It's like kindergarten class all over again. But these are things that people don't normally see me doing because I usually do all this part behind the scenes. You don't see me doing this because you normally see me just doing the sewing parts in the videos. And you don't see me doing the setup work of getting pieces and parts set up. But this glue is a non-toxic glue. I wouldn't want to use anything that could cause skin irritations. This is a glue I would put on my, I have, because I stick my fingers in it all the time when I'm doing things. I will get it on me. I'm not worried about it because it is a non-toxic glue. The other glue that I use, I don't like getting it on me. I would not ingest it, definitely. This I wouldn't be, this one might upset your stomach, but I don't think it would, it's not like a deathly ill thing. The other one, I'm not so sure, because it is a barge cement, contact cement. Let's get that corner there. If I would have thought about this yesterday, I would have actually glued the layers together before I put down my pattern. And this roller is a weighted roller, and it pushes out the air bubbles to ensure that I have a good adhesion all the way across. And I run it lengthwise, and I run it this way. I will flip it and go over it some more. Again, I'm not worried too much. I will clean up the edges. But I have a lot of space for the seams. I might go back and cut out some of the seams because I think these are 1/2-inch seams and I do not need a 1/2-inch seam. Or I might leave them so that I can fold them back as I sew them, fold them and glue them back out of the way. With that, and I will treat this as one piece when I start sewing it together. And I'm laying them behind me on the sewing machine so that I could lay them flat after I've glued them together. They'll just lay flat and I'll stack them together. I might not get to the sewing machine today. Depends how late I decide to stream. And I figure I'll wind up doing 3 or 4 hours. And my thumbs are sticky. Wipe up my workspace so that I don't put tons of glue on here. Get rid of my purple hairs off of it. There. So this is like being back in kindergarten. It's like, here we are, playing with the glue. I'm actually going to see if I do it this way any better than I did the other way. Do it from the straight edge out. Push the air bubbles out. I have one of these that's bigger. I have one that's smaller and I have one that's a lot bigger. And I don't know where my bigger one is, or I'd be using it. Tell you, someone would be in trouble if they tried to break in down here with me. Because all of these things, like these are weighted. Like I said, these are weighted. They have a lot of weight to them. I could crack someone's head open with one of these. Cool thing about this is I can also use it to like push out wrinkles that are in this as I glue it. Smooth it out. And some marks will stay in there. The nature of the beast, it's an animal. They had, excuse me, they had fat folds and they had scars from whatever's, but there's another piece, and it is a lot lighter. I can feel the difference in the weight of it and the texture of it with this thinner glue on it. I see ripples in that one. I think there's a difference in the one piece of the leather has a little bit of a different weight than the other. So we force it into compliance to be in the way we want it to be. It is the only way. Yeah, you have to with this. Otherwise, I'll get glue all over the tabletop, and then it'll get on the back side of the leather, and then that means I get to do a lot of cleanup after I'm finished cleaning up all the glue. And cleanup is not my strong point. I will tell you, with streaming, I've done more cleanup on my work area than what I normally do after a small project. Um, so streaming actually might be a way to get me to clean up this space and keep it cleaned up. I'm hoping to rearrange and everything because I want to do a tour and show you guys, because people don't understand when I say I have a lot of leather. People think I'm joking and think I have a few hides. I do. I have a few hides in multiple colors. You know, I have several hides in browns and several hides in black and purples and blues, and I have a lot of leather. And I don't know if you guys can see the leather, the glue when I do this, but I can see the shine of the glue on the table. That one just does not line up right at all. I had someone think that this was one of those face rollers. I'm like, well, I guess you can, but no, it's not. It is designed for exactly what I'm doing. Let me see. I know there's not enough there. I'll go ahead and mix me up a little bit more. My glue was supposed to come in today and I did not see it. I think Amazon decided since it's President's Day, they didn't need to deliver either. And the glue's starting to get low. But I can't complain because I've had this glue for quite some time. I buy it by the gallon because it's cheaper per ounce. And I'm frugal. Smaller containers are easier to work with, but I actually need to just get a small bottle that I can put some in. And one thing about watering it down, that means if I don't use it all, it will probably stay thin enough to use after a few hours. So when I cut my strips tonight, after I quit streaming, when I start cutting my strips for my piping, which I will not do online because that is more boring than watching this glue dry. Okay. I've lost my little purple thingy. I did make a mess. slosh all over the table. But I lost my little purple spatula. But that's okay because I have a box of them. I think I bought 500 of them because they were cheaper that way. Hello, Topher.
Hello, Babushka.
I'm streaming.
I heard it coming from your computer. Upstairs.
Oh, that's right. I did start StreamYard upstairs to type a message. Oops.
Hello, everyone.
That's my Topher.
Can you mute for a minute?
Topher, who needs my attention for a second. Sue said hello. Sue and Tammy have said hello.
Gotcha.
So you can say hello back to each one of those. You can say hello, Sue. Hello, Tammy.
Hello, Tammy. Hello, Sue.
Shoot, I just splattered myself with glue. Good thing it's watered down glue.
That's the one that had the paper towel. No.
I had paper towel underneath it. But I'm going to have to get a new paper towel.
What should you do with the one that had the towel in it?
They can hear you. It's over there.
I'm going to share some wood to this process.
Okay. Thank you. My grandchildren pay their way by doing house chores because teaching them responsibility is the right thing to do.
Yes, it is.
What, Topher?
Can you mute again?
Yeah, he's 17. He's going to be 18 in May. Kids. Ooh. That was almost disastrous. I don't know if you caught that, but I almost dumped it over. Yeah, that's good. Kind of like Lisa, I go through a lot of paper towels and baby wipes. And I am doing 2 hats, so I have two sets of everything, 2 tops, 2 lefts, 2 rights, 2, 2, and 2. I will have to get this brush washed when I'm done. Oh, Topher was just asking me how he could earn a little bit of money. I will get him to wash my brush when he's done. I try to teach him responsibilities. He has autism, and so teaching life skills is different for him. He can't just book learn it, I guess is the best way to put it. I can't just tell him this is the way it is. He has to have practical experiences. So one of the things we do is if he wants money for something, he finds a way that he can earn the money so that he gets paid to do a job. And then he understands that's his money that he earned and he can spend it. So he's learning that life skill of you've got to earn it to spend it. You can't just spend it. You can't just be a spoiled, rotten kid and get money and spend it on everything. You have to earn that money. And then soon enough, as soon as I'm capable of it, I am going to put a tiny house in my backyard. And I'm going to let him move into it. And then I'm going to charge him rent, water, electric, gas, internet, all the different things. He will get a bill for them, and he will be expected to pay that bill. And I will put the money into a special account so that if he ever decides to move out on his own, he will have a starting point to do so. And if he decides to live with me forever and wants to buy a car, he will have the money to do so. But it first teaches him that responsibility of money comes in and then money goes out. You pay before you spend money on what you want, you spend money on what you need. You need to pay your rent and your utilities. You want to spend money on going out to eat or spending money on your computer game. And so teaching him the responsibilities of wants versus needs. And not depend on everybody else to bail you out because you spent your money irresponsibly. Because there is a difference between reaching out for assistance because you truly need it and reaching out for assistance to get someone to pay your house note because you spent your money buying a third car that you didn't need. So, we're trying to teach him those kind of responsibilities. And every time we go out, I teach him things about driving, even though he's not driving yet. I teach him, I talk to him about why I do certain things. Why did I start stopping as far back as I did? Or why am I not driving very close to that car? It could be that a person I'm watching them and they're zigzagging a little too much for my comfort. And so I explained to him that I'm backing off away from them for that reason. We get ready to go on the interstate, and I explained to him that this lane that we're in is the hurry up and go lane. And so I teach him those kind of things as we're driving around. And when I first started doing it, he didn't understand why I was doing it. He's like, oh, okay. And then one day he was like, oh, this is the hurry up and get the hell over lane. And I started laughing and I said, you're learning. And he goes, what do you mean? And I told him, I said, the whole purpose of me explaining these things as we go out and go do things, I explain these things to you so that you learn them before you have to start driving. And he's like, oh. And I said, so when you start when you start driving, I don't have to tell you to speed up in this lane to get over and merge into traffic. You already know you have to do that. It's kind of like I don't have to tell you to turn your blinker on if you're going to turn, even if there's no one behind you. And so now he gets it, why I explain things to him. And so when we go out now, when I do certain things, like when we go to the Goodwill, I love because that's where I buy my expensive cabinets for cheap prices because, they just want to get rid of it. They want to move stuff. They don't care about making tons and tons of money from individual items. But anyway, when we go there, there's a turn we can take that's earlier but there's no traffic light there, and there's a lot of places for cars to just pull out and go. And by the time you see them, you either have to speed up, stop, or get hit. And so the first time I passed by that intersection, he was like, well, you could have turned there. And I said, I know I could have, but I'm going to go up to the light because it's safer. And he asked me to explain it. And so I did. And so then, the other day when we went, I can't even remember why we went by there, but we were going by there for something. Oh, I needed more glasses. That's what it was. I needed more glasses to put rocks in. And we get close to that intersection. He goes, and I know, there's a place here you can turn, but you're not going to turn there because it's not as safe as going up to the light. And people around here drive crazy. And it just makes me smile. But now that he understands why I explain things to him, he wants to be able to say it back to me so that I understand that he knows. And we'll probably do the same thing with going over the book before it's time for him to take his driver's test and all. We will read it. We will go over it 10 times over. I'm probably going to tell them that he's going to need someone to read the questions to him, because sometimes he doesn't read well. With his autism, not every autism, but with his autism, he has some learning difficulties. And so we teach things different. But he's been working hard on his spelling and reading on his own. It's one of the things he does is he games with people. And he gets in Discord with them. And they type to him. And he types to them. And it helps him with his reading and stuff. And sometimes he'll just send me messages and ask, and he'll run downstairs and tell me he's trying to spell something, and he'll spell it to me and ask me if he spelled it right. Like one day he sent me a note and he spelled the word peace, and he goes, is that spelled right? And I said, it depends. Do you mean like a piece of paper? Give me a piece of paper, or do you mean like peace out and chill? And I wrote it the two different ways. And he realized, some words there's multiple ways, so it depends what you mean. And he had actually chosen the right way, which was kind of cool. Oh, I'm finished. Woohoo! That part's finished. I did not leave anything there, but I am going to keep my paintbrush moist by putting a baby wipe over it until he comes back down, because he will be back down. I know this. He's my grandson. He's going to come down to tell me he finished doing the dishes. Yeah, and with Topher, he has ADHD and he has autism. So yeah, it can get interesting. And realizing that they're not neurotypical. These children are neurodivergent, and they can learn just as well as anyone else. They just learn different. So take the time and teach them the way they need to be taught to learn things. And it's different for if you have 15 children that have ADHD, they're all going to learn different. Same thing with autism. And it's really evident when you get, when like we go down to get swamped, go down to Robbie's place. And Topher and Z, Topher's almost 18, Z's 22, 23. And they both have autism, and getting them together and seeing the similarities, but you also see the differences. Yeah, that's still really flexible. And so you start seeing the differences between them. You see the similarities, you see the differences. And sometimes it's bigger things, like Topher is sound sensitive, so he's sensitive to extremely loud sounds like a metal hammer hitting a piece of metal. Z is not sensitive to that. Z has different things that he's more sensitive to. He does not like touching microfiber. Like, so you buy a microfiber cleaning cloth and he won't touch it. Topher has no problem touching microfiber cloths. So it's those kind of differences. I just dumped paint out. Not literally, I dumped containers of paint out, I should say. Under my chair. Hold on. Not too bad. Only one of them fell out. I think that I have all of them in here. Yeah, there's 12. Actually, I have 13 of them, I think. Yeah, I have one from the other box. But I buy the smaller containers. I buy the black in a big container, but and some of them I have two, like I have 2 blues and 2 reds. But I buy the smaller containers so that if I need to do some painting on something, I can. And I buy it in the smaller containers so that I don't wind up with dried up paint. Nothing worse than using this much paint, having a big bottle of it, and only using this much of it, and you wind up with the rest of it drying up. Because it does come in a bigger container. It comes in the bigger containers like this. And so this is 1 ounce and this is 4 ounces. So if as frequent as I use it, I'll wind up using an ounce, except for black. I use black more, and wind up with 3 ounces of dried up paint, and that's not good. So most of the time I buy it like this, but the white and the black come in almost every box of paint you get. There's usually a black and a white, but this one has some cool ones. Like this is a sterling silver. It's an iridescent silver paint. And I have a gold. It puts a nice sheen on things. I don't use it too often because I also have to coat it. So I try not to put it on anything that's going to bend. Because bendy parts don't do well with paint, or paint doesn't do well with bendy parts. It starts to crack over time. And I'm procrastinating a little bit to let the glue dry while I move stuff around, put all this up. My black I usually leave at the back of my table because I'm always reaching for it, and I'll just throw this white over here. Let me catch up on my reading here. Oh, hi. Yeah, Topher does the garbage, and the kids split the responsibilities with dishes. They were changing off every week who would wash and who would have to put away. And then Ollie decided they don't like putting away dishes. Topher decided he doesn't like washing dishes. So they just said, like, okay, well then fine. You load the dishwasher, I unload it. If there's hand washing, you hand wash it and put it in the drain board. I put it away. And so it worked out. They did it themselves. Same thing with the dogs, responsibilities for feeding the dogs, putting the dogs out, making sure they have water, which I told them had to be done because I don't own a dog. So therefore, I should not be taking care of dogs. You know, my husband and I don't own dogs. We should not have dog responsibilities. And I told them when I have to start doing dog responsibilities, they need to start getting rid of dogs. Because both of the kids do have dogs. Christopher Topher has a German Shepherd, and Oliver has this little yap yap min pin thing. Okay. I'll sew this like you normally would, and then I'll probably peel back the white and the blue. I'll separate it in the seam, and I'll cut out the blue, most of the blue that's in the seam, and glue the white down and hammer it really good to make it stick. I might go back and do a top stitch on it. I'm not sure yet. I need to look at it. And I'll get some pieces laid out for sewing. Yeah. I am the one who teaches Topher more than anyone else. Because when it comes to him, I have the patience to go over it and explain it. And something about the way I explain things makes sense to him, where his mom can explain the exact same thing. She uses different terminology and it doesn't click. But they all live with me, so he basically has 3 adults in the house teaching him along the way. And there's some things like when it was time for him to be able to use the lawnmower. I have a riding lawnmower. He's been wanting to use it since he was much younger. And Jeff was like, no, irresponsible children do not use lawnmowers. And when he got older, it was decided that he was becoming responsible enough and he could use the lawnmower. And then Jeff went outside with him. And Topher kind of looked at me and I told him, I said, just shut up and listen to what he's saying. And if you do not understand, tell him you don't understand. And so they went off outside and I hear the lawnmower running. And then Topher comes in and he's all like a kid at Christmas giggling. He's like, I drove the lawnmower. And it just made him happy that he was finally able to do that. Oliver might think it's cool to ride on the lawnmower, but Oliver is not one to jump up and say, oh, I want to do yard work. Topher, on the other hand, is like, I'm doing the yard work. Will you pay me money if I do the yard work? And he does not want my husband doing it because one of the times my husband had a heart attack, he had been outside cutting grass. And so Topher is terrified that my husband is going to have a heart attack and die cutting grass. So in his mind, he's saving Jeff's life by cutting grass. But he's also the one that told me that he would stay with me when I got old and decrepit, and he would take care of me forever. And he's told me that since he was a little bitty thing. Which my daughter thinks is hilarious. Yeah, and Topher has to learn not just step by step, but repetition. I have to teach him something multiple times, and I have to make sure that I do it the same way. I have to make sure I'm doing something the same way with him multiple times for him to catch it. And that comes from his learning difficulties. And, in society, they always say, fake it till you make it. And so with him, a lot of people don't realize what's going on in his head because he fakes it pretty damn good. He has learned the way you behave in social situations. If someone's upset and crying, he will go up and offer to give them a hug because he knows that makes people feel better. And that's what you do in social situations. You offer to help someone. But his other side of him, for him, helping people is like a love language. In a way, I guess that's one way they say it. For him, to be able to help people makes him happy. So if he's in the grocery store and he sees some little 5-foot tall grandma trying to get something off of the shelf and she's having to reach up to get it, he will walk over and offer to get it for her. Actually, it doesn't matter if it's a young person or an old person. If he sees someone's shorter statured than he is, because he is over 6 foot now, he will absolutely offer to get something off of a shelf for them. And then he'll come tell me all about it and feel good. One day he was taking a cart to the front of the store because someone had left one of the electric scooter carts in the back of the store. And for him, he needed to take it up front where it belonged so it could be charged. And while he was doing that, they had a guy who was disabled, and he was trying to get the water out of his cart to be able to ring it up. And the guy couldn't get it out of the cart. And so Topher did it for him. And the guy says, I'll get someone to help me in the parking lot. And for Topher, that was good because he would not have gone out in the parking lot with a stranger. He knows better. He probably would have ran and asked me if it was okay if he went, and I would have had to tell him no. Let's not get ourselves kidnapped. And these pieces are not being used at this moment. So they can sit over here and be flat. Only about that much of this is going to show. Oh, it took me less than an hour and a half to do all that. That's not bad. Yeah, Topher enjoys helping. He would prefer to offer the help than be told to do something, if that makes sense. Which is weird because it's the same thing. He would rather get up in the morning on a Saturday morning and say, hey, I'm going to go cut the grass, rather than me tell him he needs to cut the grass. But that's why going to Robbie's works well for him, because he can help. When I took him down there the first time, it was the first time that people treated him, he was treated like just being just one of the guys. Usually they treat him like a kid, no matter where we are. People treat him like the adults treat him like he's a kid. And so I take him down there, and Robbie just treats him like one of the guys. Treats him no different than he treated his own son. You know, Topher, come on, let's go. Let's do this. That's why when I first got there, with Robbie and Z and Scott was there. And I told Topher, and I said, if any of these three say, come on, let's go, you go with them. You don't need to tell me where you're going. I said, you're behind a locked gate. I know you're not going to wander off. They're not going to take you anywhere to get you in any danger. And I said, so I said, Z walks up and says, Toph, let's go. You go with him. I'll be able to find you. And that way they knew that it was okay. And he knew it was okay. But at the same time, I also looked at Robbie and and if he acts a fool, knock him in his place. Put him in his place. Don't let him act a fool out here. I said, don't treat him any different because he's my grandson. Treat him the way you would treat any other person. And that's because I know there's dangerous things out there. And, there's dangerous things on Robbie's property. And if Topher saw a snake and just reached down to pick it up, which he would not do, I would expect Robbie to yell at him. You don't just grab a snake without knowing what it is. And it wouldn't hurt my feelings if he yelled at him for that. And Topher did find a snake while we were there when they were moving bricks. And Topher's like, there's a snake. And Robbie's like, no, it's too cold for snakes right now. And Topher kind of looks at him and looks down and goes, no, there's a snake. And Robbie went over there, and it was this little bitty snake. He was skinny. He was like skinny little snake, like this little bitty thing. He was injured a little bit, but I think he was cold, and so he was a non-venomous snake. And Robbie grabbed it up. I'm pretty sure it was a snake. Yeah. And Robbie grabbed it up, and we took it over, and he released it in an area where it can roam free and not be in the way. I mean, it was down underneath bricks. It was just looking for a place to stay warm. I've got glue all over my fingers. And I don't understand it. I clean up under my fingernails multiple times a day. I come down here and start leather working, and I look at my nails, and I'm like, they're so dirty looking. Of course, my nails are all tore up. I've torn my hands up, partly from digging in rocks. And partly because my nails are I have pretty brittle nails. I always have. And I usually get an acrylic put over them to give them strength. And I haven't done that in a while. And it's showing because the other day I was lifting tape with just my thumbnail. It just went like that. And my thumbnail just broke. And I'm going to have to relocate the camera to do the next step because the sewing machine is over there and you can't see it from here. And I'm going to drink me some water first. I drink a carbonated water from Walmart. Basically, it's flavored water that has no nutritional value. Today's flavor is peach. There's no sugar, no calories, no caffeine, and no sodium per serving. But the entire bottle has 10 milligrams of sodium and 2 grams of carbs and 440 milligrams of potassium. And that's for the whole bottle, which is a liter. There's 3 servings in here. I drink it at room temperature because I can't drink anything really cold. So I drink things like this from just room temperature. Jamie, you got to do what you got to do. I mean, people have home routines. I understand that. It's no different than Rosie being on her channel and she's like turning off the camera for a minute because one of her nightly routines is she has to tell Noah good night and give him a hug. And so he comes in ready for bed and she turns the camera off so that he can come through and gives him his nightly hug and snuggle before he goes off to bed. So I understand. I mean, I'm raising my second round of children with my grandchildren here. We don't have a nightly routine anymore because they're both, I mean, the baby is 16. So yeah. And Sue's going to have some pretty rocks on the way, don't you, Sue? Don't you have some pretty rocks coming your way? I'm going to turn this camera off so that I can move it. Oh my goodness. Got to go get milk. Can't do without milk. I'm going to put these where the whites together, which you can't see now. I'm going to put these extra pieces that I'm not using right now with the white sides together so that I don't have to worry about them getting dirty. And then I'm going to relocate my camera. And then I'm curious if you guys are going to be able to hear me, if I'm going to have to change the settings on to use the phone, the sound on the phone instead of on the computer. We'll see. I'll turn the camera off so I can relocate this. Because I don't want to make anyone drunk and try to move the camera while it's on. I have to use one of my clips to hold my phone cord out of the way. In my camera app so I can set up my camera. think that'll work. Let me turn the camera back on and see how that looks. Yes, I got to get your turtle to you. Oh, wow, you can't see much of anything with that. Sit that way. Sorry, I don't mean to make you drunk. I have the working box where the original hats that I made are sitting. The sewing machine comes with its own light. This is basically what I'm doing is I'm remaking these Garrison caps because I made them and they're a little bit too small for the lady. So I'm remaking them. I need to thread a new bobbin. And I'm going to do a poll and see if people really like seeing all these things or if they want me to start doing some of this stuff offline. Do they really like seeing these from the beginning, from the very beginning to the end? Can you hear me at all? Yes, it is a sale right. It is the sale right, specifically the leather machine. Oh, oh, there's Shane. Hi, Shane. I didn't realize that's who it was. Yeah, I got the I know you got the fabricator, which has a much bigger bed. I got the leather machine, which has a smaller footprint. Doesn't have as much bed space and everything, but it fits in my workspace really well. And I've enjoyed using it when I use it. I love the servo motor and being able to cut back on the speed. think I got that in backwards. Wait, fitting through there, right? And I go from underneath. It's just easier for my hands to fit under there. And because my machine, I'm sitting here at the machine and my computer is across the room over there. I don't know if you can see my finger. Yeah, the machine's over, the computer's over there. So I have to lean in order to read chat. Ah, okay. I remember when you got yours and you were so excited and you put it together and was working with it. Cut that thread way longer than I needed it. Dust on dusty parts. I just have to remember to keep my head out of the way while I'm sewing on camera. There we go. Fix that. Well, that just did not do what I wanted it to do. So I wanted to pull that one down as well. There we go. And I actually have a piece of tape on the bed, which you cannot see, that marks where my seam allowance is for this specific project because I marked it last time and I just never pulled it up. Which is the last project I worked on. So actually, I need to double check that. Gotta quit putting tape on everything. Went around and tape on my rulers. I wanted to tape on my scissors. Half inch. Yes. Do not like sewing this thin leather. Oh. If I had one of my other sewing tables set up, I would probably just pull out one of my domestic machines for this. And this does not seem like it. It doesn't feel right. something's pulling on my top thread. Yeah, the top thread was pulling a little bit on that. Maybe put some beeswax and put it over here. The end of this thread. Hi, Flutter. Shane is another leather crafter, and Shane does some amazing work. Shane does more clothes. He does he's made, I know he's made skirts and dresses and vests and jackets and patches. And I'm sure he's quite capable of a lot more than that, but those are things I know he makes a lot of. That did not stitch up. I'm not happy with that. I'm gonna have to fix that seam a little bit. Come on, let it go. I hate when it misbehaves on me. But at least it's misbehaving in the part that's going to disappear anyway. Hi, Stacy. For the people that are coming in, understand that I am over here at the sewing machine and my computer is over there. So I'm having, anytime I'm reading chat, I'm leaning over there. I just have a few seams to do here, and then I'll be back over there to do the next step. Shane, who is in the chat or was in the chat, I don't know if he still is, but Shane Hutchinson, actually, I learned some of the stuff I do from Shane, whether or not he realizes it. I have a bazillion of these little red clippy doodles because of him. Because I saw him using them. I'm like, hey. And so, yeah, then I bought a bunch. The glue that I use for my water-based glue that I use is the same thing he uses. Before anyone saw me making things, before anyone knew I was making things, I was watching Shane. He's one of the reasons I got confidence to do stuff more public. One thread, I don't want to pull it. I don't want to put a lot of tension on it because of this being such a soft leather. And my machine is misbehaving a little bit. Switches are there. That is going to come out right when I smushy it down and beat it before I glue it together. I'm catching up on reading. I'll catch up on that in a minute because it's hard for me to read from here. Let me just stitch these seams together. And then I'll jump over there and see what you're saying. Unless someone's coming into the chat to read to me, which is an option. Usually Rosie's in my chat, and it would be like, Rosie, come on, and I could tell Rosie, come on and read this. But today of all days, Rosie couldn't come in immediately. There. Much better. You guys entertain each other for a minute. Did Flutter go fishing earlier today? Catch anything? I saw a video where you caught a bass. And I know it was when you were ice fishing. That I could tell. I didn't see when I didn't pay attention to when the video was. It just came across my feed today. It looked to be a decent sized bass. Oh, okay. Mm. lining up these pieces the way I want them. Oops. I think my machine does not like the lamb. Because that felt very different than what it felt when I did it earlier with the lamb, with the thin layer. This just went through it fast, better. Nice clean stitching. Old habit from sewing. Mom taught me, you always grab those tails. And I find that I still do it, whether it's necessary or not. I think that was a good one. Stopped at the right time. Good stitches. Good, pretty stitches. Because this will be flipped to the outside. But I need to do some work on the inside first on these seam edges. Set them up the way I want them. Throw my clips in the bucket. Yeah, get my thread there. And I'll give you a little bit of a machine lesson of why I chose this machine. One of the things is it does have it's called a servo motor. And this is what it allows me to do. If you can see, listen to how slow it goes. I don't know if you can see in here. I don't know how much you can see what's moving. Yeah, you can see that piece moves, and you see how slow I can make it go. And being able to go that slow means you have more precision when you're stitching. And in leather, leather, you can't stitch it and then just rip it out and re-sew it. Because once you've stitched it, the holes are there and they're going to stay. So you measure a lot, cut once, measure a lot, clip it together and sew once. It's one of the reasons why I double checked the length of my seam allowance. I check the pattern I have versus what I have marked on my machine. Because if I did it wrong, I can't undo it. Come on, let go. There. Okay, let me turn my camera off so I can move it again. I need to go ahead and find my camera. I have an actual camera for this. I need to find it and set it up so that I can have one set up all the time and then use my phone as a backup instead of using my phone as a primary camera. I mean, it does work well for a camera, but not the ideal situation. And I think that should work. Back over here. Move my clipboard out of the way. Yeah, being able to do those very slow stitches helps a lot. Now I'm going to run back and read chat. Okay, so Topher came and did it. Great. Sue had to go run to the store because got informed there's no milk. Or yeah, actually we have no milk either. We just found that out. Okay, Flutter, we'll see you shortly. And then Shane came in, and yes, this is a sale rate. I answered that. And yeah, and I love my sale rate. I actually saved up to be able to get that. It was like I knew I wanted it. After Shane got his, and I saw his in action, I knew that that was the machine I was going to get. Some people will get other models that are like the Cobra and stuff like that. They're nice machines. The thing is that I don't need a machine like the Cobra machine that will sew leather thicker than my finger. I don't need that. I will never need that. I don't want to sew that kind of stuff. I'm not making holsters and saddlebags, and that's not what I'm making. So I chose to get the sale right after seeing Shane get his and saw how pleased he was with it. It's like, okay, to take my jar, and that's what that jar money is for. I have a jar, and anytime I go through and any change that includes dollar bills and $5 bills that are left in my wallet after I do if I pull cash out to go shopping and I have leftover, it goes in the jar. If anyone leaves money laying around in my house and I pick it up, it goes in the jar. If I do laundry, if I find money in the laundry, it goes in the jar. I go to an event or something, like when we go to Dragon Con, we do more cash transactions at Dragon Con than we do cards. And any of the cash that's left over winds up going in the jars. And so I save up all that money for big purchase items. And I got my sale right. And I was very pleased with getting my sale right. And it came in a few boxes, and then I had to sit down and put it together. And the instructions they sent me were lacking some of the information I needed to be able to put it together successfully. But Google is your friend, and somebody somewhere has a video to do exactly what you're trying to do, and they can explain it to you in a way that makes sense. And so that's exactly what I did. Was I Googled and found someone putting together their sale right. That was the exact machine I had just gotten. And I sat down here and refused to let anyone help me. And I put it together myself. The motor is not attached to the machine when you buy it. The motor came in a separate box. It was the top of the table. The legs were separate pieces. The undercarriage, that is that metal piece that curves to catch anything that drops through the machine, that was a separate piece. So it was pieces and parts that you have to put together. The machine itself was one part, but I still had to put it together and put the gears together and the belts and everything and following the instructions. And the first time I tried putting it based on the instructions they sent me, something was missing and it wasn't going together correctly. And I'm smart enough to know to run it by hand before you plug it in and turn it on. That way, if anything's not aligned, you're going to catch it without tearing anything up. So I chose to get that. And then you guys are talking about, I keep seeing in my head different leather cutouts of butterflies. That would be a major project, to cut out a bunch of butterflies and glue and sew them down on something to make a pair of pants. And Flutter did not go fishing. Let the pup out. And Flutter's going to go check on the deer down there. That means putting the deer out of misery if it's down there suffering. Well, I like the holder I have for the camera because I have the one that folds open. And so my phone opens up to a decent size. It's what when it's open, it's 5.5 inches wide, and then it's 6.5 inches tall. So yeah, so it opens up to sizable, and I like it because I can, the phone rings, I can stand up and look and see the top of the screen to see who's calling me while I'm using it as a camera. I can actually answer it. And I did that the other day when Robbie called, is I just left the camera on and answered it and sat here talking to Robbie doing something. And because I can do that, I think I was on Rosie's live. And everybody kept going, I can't hear you. I can't, Tori, we can't hear you. And I'm like, I told you I was muting, talk to Robbie. So yeah. And she's gonna be careful. Yeah, you got to stay away from deer that have been hit so you don't get injured yourself. Okay, now I'm back. I'm caught up now. It's the circle of life. Another forest friend is going to eat that forest friend. Or the forest friend will decompose and feed the soil. I know. This is my rationale of how I make sense of things like this. If a deer gets hit, if they get dragged off, or whatever, an animal might eat it. Whatever's left is going to decompose and fertilize the soil to make a tree grow stronger, or make grass grow stronger so the next generation of deer has better grass to eat. And that's the way my brain functions, to make me not be as sad when a deer gets hit. Pull all my pieces and parts over here now. I am going to just set these apart, away, out of my way for now, and grab 2 of these and set those over there, and work on one of these at a time. I want to open this seam up because it'll minimize bulk. Yeah, I know how I would feel if one of our deer, if mama deer took her 2 babies out in the street and they got injured, I'd feel really bad. I am very thankful that for our backyard, this whole strip of where the houses are and the next neighborhood over, our backyards are all woods. I have 1.5 acres, and about 1 acre of it is just woods. And that's true for this whole street. And then the people that live on the other side of the creek, their backyards meet our backyards, and they're the same way. About 2/3 of their yard is woods. So the deer have a good long strip of woodland to play in, and it has a creek, so that they have access to water, running water. and lots of woods to be in, without any streets right there. So they have a lot of area to, from one end to the other, they have a lot of area they can roam without ever touching a street. And that makes me feel good. And I think I'm going to be blocking mine off so that no one can drive their four-wheelers through anymore. And that would give the deer a definite sanctuary that they could get away from the kids with the four-wheelers. So I've kind of, you can see I've flattened that and it's kind of staying. I'm going to clip the ends. Ow! I just caught my hair on a pin. When I have my hair pulled back and one of these T-pins caught me in the head. Oh, I don't know if I showed you. I did this keychain last night. It's just no butterflies, no dragonflies, just a keychain. And that's what was hanging on the T-pin that I poked myself in the head with. Phone call. And use that to keep this seam flat. I'm going to flatten them, then I'm going to glue them. I roll them, I beat them. And when I put these, once I put these together and I sew them, whichever way it looks the best, that'll be the outside edge, the part that's on the outside. So once I sew it together, whichever side looks better will show up on the outside. The one that I don't like as much will show up on the inside where nobody's going to see it anyway. Okay, let me get this little thing, which is a disposable makeup applicator. Get my watered down glue. And remember, once this is all sewn together, this glue will actually still hold. I'm going to just glue my thread ends into there too. That'll hold everything together. I have some actual brushes, but they're like liner brushes. I need to get some that are a little bit wider. Roller that out. This side. Roller that out to make it smooth. Basically ironing it. And so that will stay nice and flat. And what I'll do is I'll put these together with the outsides together, and I will stitch along the top edge first. Then I will go in and I will throw some glue in it when I flip it. Once I get it where I flip it and I get it where this seam edge looks really good and clean, then I'll smooth some glue in there and push it together to glue it together to give it more of that structure that I'm looking for. And while I know that using brushes that can be washed and reused is more economical, it was one of the trade-offs where I was willing to give it up and just waste the money. And sometimes we have to make those decisions of where are you willing to waste a dollar or two. Yes, I did finish the rainbow hat. I can show that to you. Let me move my glue because I do not need to glue the rainbow hat. Make sure my hand doesn't have any. I'm going to have to move some stuff back so I can give myself a little bit of extra space. There's the top edge of the top of it around to the front. Sides, I used rainbow rivets. The back of it. I still have clips on the inside holding it. Let me take those off. They've been on there a few days, so it should hold its shape now. And it does. Holds the shape very well. And in here I have my little label in here. Let's see if I can pull that. So I have my label in it that says that I made it. I'm pleased with it. I am. I like the way it looks. And now that I just took the clips off of it, I can get my brush out and give it a soft brushing, because this is like a slightly hair-on hide. And I live in Georgia, so there's dust on everything you do. So I'll give it a nice little brushing to brush off any dust that's on here. I like the way this is like the belly of the snake, and this is the side and back of the snake. And so I did this all the way around, use that belly strip all the way around it. And then I repeated that on the front, down the center of the front there, and on the underneath. I did that belly strip down the middle. And then it shows up on both of the sides. I thought about trying to put it down the center, and I thought that might be a little over the top. It would make a clear division of the head left and right, and I didn't want to do that. So that's the crazy rainbow hat, officer style hat. I was happy to finish that one up last time. I finished that up on Saturday. I think it was. Yeah, because yesterday yesterday was Sunday. Sunday we laid out the pattern for this and cut it out. So yeah, it was Saturday I finished the hat. And I just had the guy ask me if I was going to get these finished by the end of March. If they would be ready for his lady by the end of March. And I'm like, oh, definitely. Thank you, Stacy. And nothing wrong with being preoccupied with grandbabies, especially when they're little ones. I mean, there's sometimes, well, shoot, when Topher broke his arm, no one was getting anything out of me. I'm the one that wound up staying at the hospital with him. His mother had COVID, and she had not been enough days post COVID because it was when we were under very strict guidelines here. It was when you tested positive for COVID and mandatory. You were, from the moment you tested positive, you were going to be home for 10 days, at least 10 days. It was back at that time. And Topher, was so bored with being in the house because we weren't going anywhere. And he asked if he could go outside and ride his bike. And I said, yes. And he was doing something, decided to run with his bike, and he tripped over his own feet and fell and wound up with a compound fracture. And so, since my daughter was at her friend's house who also had COVID, in isolation, since they both got COVID at the same time, they kind of just stayed in isolation together. It was a smart thing to do instead of her bringing it home. And so I wound up at the hospital with him and staying up there. And it was interesting seeing how the hospital had to make adjustments to their protocol because normally they would not have treated him without his mother's signature. Which obviously they could not get from her. With her having COVID, she couldn't come in. So they let me bring him in. They dealt with me bringing him in and just getting a phone call from her. And when the doctor came in and needed authorization, I was like, well, I can call her. So I sent her a text message to tell her answer the phone, 911, answer the phone, because we have a code and that's what that's what we do. And so I called her and she answered. And I said, the doctor needs to talk to you to get authorization. And she's trying to give me blanket authorization. The doctor's like, it doesn't work that way. Which is funny because when it comes to anything medical, she's going to ask me and do whatever I tell her to do anyway. Because I have access to more of that information than she does. Make that seam lay flat. So he and I got to spend a lot of time together. You have babies, don't you? Yeah, 16 months and 8. Yeah, you have to. Because the next thing you know, you blink an eye and they're teenagers. And yeah, what? You know, totally. They don't want to hang out. We're not cool anymore at that point. Actually, I'm blessed. I've always been the cool grandma. Um, and part of that comes from my brutal honesty. It was the same way when I was with my daughter when she was young. Um, if they ask me a question about their body, I'm going to give an honest answer about their body. Um, because that's I do age appropriate. Like my daughter was really really young, like 2 years old, and she wanted to know why boy pants poked out and girls didn't. We did not have a penis and vagina discussion, but we always use medical terminology for things, because that's just just the way I am. But I did have a conversation about these are what people will refer to as your private parts. And little boy private parts are on the outside, and little girl private parts are on the inside. And she looks at me and she goes, "So the doctor knows the difference?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "Oh, okay." And she wandered off. And that was the end of the discussion. So I explained to her why boy pants poked out, girls didn't, and I didn't have to go into grave detail about anything. And I just did it like that ever since then. Just kept it age appropriate, answer the questions. When she got to high school and people would say stuff and she would give them an answer and they would look at her and they go, "Well, how do you know that's how do you know?" And she's like, "I talked to my mom." And then kids started asking her questions, and she would come home and ask me to get answers and then take the answers back to school. And then I get parents calling about me answering questions for their children. And I'm like, "I didn't answer any questions for your child. I answered questions for my child." Because I don't believe in telling children that they can get pregnant for kissing, you know, that kind of thing. I just don't believe in doing that to children. I'm lining up this bottom edge, even though I am not stitching the bottom edge. Just so when I work with this, I know I'm working with all things being equal. Stick that on there. I love these takeout containers. We use them for leftover food. I use them down here for crafting. I will take all the hardware for a project and put in one, or I'll use it like I'm using that one for glue. They're the best thing for crafting since making sandwiches, having sliced bread for sandwiches. He lost his little red clippy doodle. I'm actually not going to use that one on this leather because this leather is so soft. It's bad enough these leave marks on the leather as it is. And I'm making sure that I'm clipping it far enough back so that if it left a permanent mark, it would be inside the seam. It would be out here on the outside edge of the seam, so it wouldn't show on the final product when I'm finished. Oh, hey, Jennifer, I didn't see you sneaking in. How you doing? How you feeling post-surgery? Another day post-surgery. Still feeling beat up a little bit? Hello, my evil one. Jeff, I am actually using the water-based glues, not the stinky glue, not the barge cement. When I use the barge cement, it has such a strong smell that I'm down here in the basement. Above me is the main floor of the house. Above that is where the bedrooms are and the office that Jeff sits in. If I'm down here using barge cement, Jeff can smell it upstairs in the office. Well, I trust Shell to tell you the truth, Jennifer. So if Shell says you're looking better each day and you're healing, then you're looking better each day and you're healing. I trust that. Honey, one time I was using the barge cement and I wasn't using that much of it. I mean, it wasn't a major seam or anything. And Topher comes running down here going, "You're using smelly glue. I can smell it." You can definitely smell it directly upstairs on the main floor when I use it. I'm thinking maybe when I set up the laser thingamabobber that I have sitting over there, it has a big exhaust thing with it, air filter and all. And I'm wondering if there's a way I can make it where I can use it not being connected to that. So just basically disconnect it and let it suck the air and clean it out while I'm gluing. All these clippy things. Fun to work with. Really, they are. Take this and set it over here. Nope, that is not a flat surface. Must be on a flat surface. And another one missing his top. I might have to get some tool dip and see if I can retip some of these. And I had to buy a new head because I did not have a head in the size I needed for these hats. Because I'm going to be dag blasted certain these hats fit. Keep all that white leather all nice and clean. And I'm using these clips the same as you would with using pins in fabric. Just putting them every so often to hold everything in place. The reality is when I sew fabric, which is rare, I usually don't use pins anymore. except if I'm doing like ruffles and pleats and stuff, yes, but straight seams I usually don't anymore. But I've been sewing those kind of seams since I was like 5 years old, so I think I've got it down. It did not lay flat. Pull that back out of the way. I'm reading. And for those who don't know, Evil Jeff is my husband. I will usually I possibly may refer to him as Evil One or Jeff, one or the other. But Jeff is my husband. Don't know if he's the better half or the evil half or something like that. Yeah. He is the more patient half. Oh, I'm going to catch you up on my car stuff. So the guy contacts me today about paying me money. And then he comes over and he says, I talked to my lawyer today and my lawyer told me not to give you any money. And I looked at him like he had just grown a third eye. I was fixing to scream and tell him, see you in court. And then he starts laughing. He goes, I'm just jerking your leg around. He goes, do you have your Cash App where I can just scan a code? And so he paid me the deductible that I have to pay the mechanic. And I'm now ungluing what I glued on the seam. I should have marked it and not glued the whole thing. It's not going to show when I get done, thankfully. Yeah, he gave me the deductible money for mine already. Oh, and it really wasn't an option. It was his vehicle that rolled down the hill and hit mine. So he was going to pay, whether I take him to court and he pays more because he also has to pay court costs, or he pays because he voluntarily pays. He's going to pay. And the police even told him that he was liable. So there was no question as who was liable. He is paying out of pocket because he didn't have insurance. If he had insurance, then his insurance would have covered it and he would not be paying my deductible, nor would he be paying the money to get Jeff's car fixed. I filed my Tahoe under my uninsured motorist insurance because he doesn't have insurance, and because the cost of the repairs is going to be upward of $12,000 to $14,000. And the reality is, for him to get that kind of money together would take a while. And my car is due for inspection and getting the tags replaced. And I cannot do that without getting the repairs done because I'm missing a tail light. So I get to take it in tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Talk to the shop, get the shop to talk to my insurance company. I've already talked to the insurance company a few times. giving him my annoyance when the lady today asked me about pictures that I've submitted twice. And when I said something and told her who I submitted them to, she was like, "Oh, I've got them." So yeah, the guy was going to pay whether he wanted to or not, and he doesn't realize he's going to be paying more than what he thinks. Because my insurance company said they're going after someone for the cost of these repairs. They will go over the registered. They will go to the registered owner of the vehicle. Pretty sure the actual registered owner of the vehicle is going to go after the person they sold it to 5 years ago. Stacy, he actually used the parking brake, and yeah, he knows now that his parking brake is crap. But the transmission didn't hold it in park, and his parking brake didn't hold. From what I understand, it has happened before, and he thought it was he had fixed it, but obviously not. And what I'm doing is I'm cutting the blue back, and I'm going to flatten this out, and it's just reducing the bulk in this area. Roll her over it a little bit. What are you tasting, my grandchild? Who's cooking?
Ollie.
Ollie's cooking. What are we cooking?
Favorite one of four.
Chicken nuggets?
We're having mac and cheese.
What is this?
Fried chicken. I don't know.
Chicken nuggets.
Basically. I think it's good. I actually think it's amazing.
With blue cheese.
I don't like blue cheese. That'd be a you thing.
I do. So bring me some blue cheese when you bring me my food.
Well, Ollie would be bringing your food, but I'm always upstairs when they finish food. They don't say food out. They always just bring me mine.
They can hear you.
I know. But how was it? 1 through 10. 10?
Oliver, the younger one, is cooking again because he's trying to learn how to make wonderful food. And he has crispy fried chicken nuggets, and they are crispy and they are delicious. Well, and Stacy, the reality is the guy should have transferred the title to his name 5 years ago when he bought the car. He should have bought insurance or got title or tags on the car, legal tags. And he should have had it inspected because his parking brake would have failed inspection. And he should have had insurance. Yeah, when Oliver cooks, we give feedback on the positive, what we thought was really good or what could use improvement, thoughts for a change up. And we do that every time. That way, it's like he made something the other night and I made comment about, you could have put less meat in. He made like it was similar to a burrito. And I said, you could have put less meat in each one and then added more cheese and shredded tomato or shredded lettuce and tomato in it, made it like a burrito. Get some refried beans and put with it. And so I was telling him, methods he could have used to change it up a little. And he's like, oh, okay. And so, he learns from this, just like Topher is with the driving. Ollie's learning that kind of stuff with cooking. But I think it's kind of cool because, Ollie will make my etouffee recipe. And he can do it now without me being in the kitchen with him, which just tickles me to no end. He can make a good roux. He gets the butter and flour out, and I use butter instead of grease. Traditionally, my grandmother would have been using old grease to make the roux. That's the one thing I did change, was I don't use grease like that, bacon grease, because, well, we just don't keep bacon grease in the house like we used to. Like it was there when I grew up. So that's the major change. But we still do a pseudo traditional roux, and cutting up and cooking the bell peppers and the onions and the celery, and cooking those down some. And the tomato sauce and the tomato paste and the diced tomatoes, and put all that in, cooking it down. Just the layers of flavors and the seasoning galore. But the first time I was in the kitchen, the whole time he was making it, and we were talking interactive of how to do things and what to do. And the next time I was in the kitchen when he made it, and he would just ask me questions periodically, and I would answer them. The last time he made it, he asked me to go to the other room and let him make it himself. And if he needed me, he would come to me. Lisa, hello. Sometime this week, I should be sending out packages. Lisa, I'm guessing I will just send Kendra's to you. Or should I poke Kendra and say, give me an address so I can ship this to you? I don't know what would be the best method. Thought Lisa was calling me a jerk for a minute there. Well, if I'm going to be making her leather bag that we've discussed, it would be more efficient for her to give me the address. Otherwise, I send it to you, and then you have to not accidentally put the package in storage. And then, get it to her. And I know I put more glue than is needed in here, so I'm using the paper towel to kind of wipe up that excess glue as I go. And then force it to be where I want it to be. Oops, I just knocked a piece of leather into my glue. That's okay, because I need to put a little more glue right here. That edge did not sticky down like it should have. So I'm actually going to let this sit in this position instead of folding it until this glue has time to sit. Put that on the chair behind me and work on the next one. Those tails are fine. And if anyone is interested, I'm going to show you something. The difference between the thread I use on the sewing machine, and you would know I pick up blue and blue. That doesn't work well. The sewing machine thread versus the hand stitching thread. You can see the difference in the size. I have not watched the creeper vid yet, but I will have to do so. I actually was supposed to take off work at 5 o'clock because that's normally when I get off work, and I wound up working a little bit extra. So yeah, I didn't get a chance to watch that video before I started this one. Okay, let me go backwards a little bit. There, that's where I was. Oh, Jeannie is coming unglued, huh? Oh, wow. Wow. Well, I'm going to do this gluing up, and then I'm not going to do any more stitching tonight. I will work on stitching tomorrow when I come on. And stitch all that stuff together that I've stitching I have to stitch the two pieces that go on the outside that I clipped together. I need to do them. And this, after the glue dries, I will clip the top pieces on. Yeah, and she knows you have cameras, so it's going to be boiling down to whether or not she thinks you would do anything. And from what she's already seen, she should know you're not one to play with. That would be crazy. Topher cleaned out my the Tahoe because it goes to the shop tomorrow. He comes in and starts laughing. He goes, "I forgot about your My Little Pony." And Jeannie don't want me to come down there. There's a lot of people that call me mama, and there's a reason for it. And it's because I'm a protector of people. I'm a mama. That's what I do. I mother people. Protection is one of those mama traits that I do. There. Now it behaves. And I beat things into submission. Seriously, I mean, Lisa, it's not, I could leave and be there before morning. Of course, it's not, I shouldn't drive the Tahoe down there right now with the back end smashed the way it is. Missing a tail light, I'm bound to get pulled over. But yeah. Lisa, are you going live in 30 minutes? Oh, that's cool, Flutter. Okay. Well, then I guess I will get where I wrap. I'm going to glue these two themes, and then I'm going to wrap up so I can go see what she has to say. Because I'm sure it's going to be good because there will be some creeper information in there, I'm sure. And I'm sure whatever he did was more than put a My Little Pony on someone's truck like he did me. Weirdo. I should have thought of, I'm going to make sure that for the few other seams, well, the other ones, it won't matter. I've already got them glued too. So I really should have thought about this ahead of time and not glued in my seam inside the seam allowance. Is this the doctor that needs to take care of, check into some information for you? That information we had discussed before? Or is this a different doctor? So, can you post Lisa's information when I get finished? When I log off here, I'm going to take a quick break, go pay the water bills, as Rosie would say. And then I'm going to pop over to Two Leaves in a Pod and hang out there. And then we will resume this hat tomorrow. I think I have the stream set up for 6, but I might actually start. Well, no, I can't because I have to take off work a little bit tomorrow. So I'll be on around 6. And we will log off before Lisa has her live tomorrow. 2 Lisa in a Pod, which is Lisa and Kendra. It's 2 people, cousins. And get caught up on the current news and gossip of Hollywood and more. So I'm going to glue this seam, and then I'll be probably going to go ahead and take one of these and clip it in here where it goes and get that clipped. That way you guys don't have to hear me cussing and fussing. I'll go ahead and get those clipped off camera. And then tomorrow we will start out on the sewing machine, sewing together this top edge all the way around. And the band that goes across, we'll sew the top edge of that all the way around. And then the biggest thing we'll have to work on is this bottom edge. I just realized I know what I need to do tonight is I need to make my piping, because I have to put piping in that edge. So I need to take a step back and get that done, get that ready to go. So I'll show you that tomorrow. So let me get these 2 edges done. And I'm going to give everybody a break to go get a snack, get your favorite drink, go pay your water bill, take your dog for a walk, pat your husband on the head, or pat your boyfriend on the head, or your girlfriend, your life partner. Pat your life partner on the head. Rub their belly, make them feel special, whatever you need to do. Get a rest if you need it. But take your break, do what you need to do. I have been on for 3 hours. I came on at 6. And so that's a good stream for tonight. And tomorrow I'll do about the same. And I'll stream for 3 or 3.5 hours. I need to see what time Lisa's going to be on. And we'll continue on with these hats, these Garrison Caps, and we will work through them until they're done. So for tonight, I am done, and I will talk to you all later. You all have a wonderful night. Prayers out to those who need them. Healing energies to Jennifer and Marcia, who is not feeling well either. Jennifer just had surgery on Friday. Marcia's not feeling well, and prayers out to all our other people we know that need them. And I will see you all tomorrow.